Hello, friends. Right, so I have no idea what day this is, so do you know what? We're just going to go with it. I, every time I think to myself that I'm going to run out of stuff to talk about, it's not a real concern because I've got something to say, but there's so much that happens every single day from like all over the world in connection with putting a spotlight on the experiences of black people in the world of work, but also what some companies are now coming out to say that they are doing to show meaningful change and meaningful commitment. Because there are a lot of people, and I'm going to bounce around a little bit now, but there are a lot of people who, because every so often I like to share companies who I feel like are doing meaningful stuff. And it's not always, because they're investing like millions, it's not always because of that. But I like when I can see people who've put in thought, even if they don't have the pounds, shillings, and pence necessarily behind it. And what some people have said to me is like, yeah, Shereen, but I can't do that because I don't make like hundreds and thousands and millions of pounds or whatever else it is a year. So like, there's nothing I can do. I.e., so basically, I'm going to carry on doing not a lot because I'm making the big bucks that everybody else is making. So I can't put down some hefty pounds and dollars on the table. Here's my thing. Everybody has an opportunity to affect change in this area. Everybody, right? So if you are a one person show, because like I'm always trying to find phrases other than like one man band, but you know what I mean, let's just use one man band. I can't even think of what what is the phrase? Anyway, if you run your own business and it's just you, yes, there are things you can do. So some of the things that you can do is basically say that the people that you work with, the people that you associate with, the people that you will partner with, the people that you will give your money to, or even the people that you may work for, if you're brave enough to say no to clients, have to be committed to making meaningful change in this area. They have to have publicly been okay with showing their support in whatever way. I don't mean, not just because they've done the hashtag or whatever else it is. I mean that they found a way to be supportive publicly. So they're not whispering behind closed doors because they don't want anybody to know that they're for the movement, but not really, because there's still a lot of that going on. So they're publicly committed to the cause, but also they're like behind the scenes, they're also trying to think about how they show up as an individual and what they do, and how they can use their influence and experience and whatever else it is to be a force for good in this area. You can do that as a one man band, a one woman band. You can do that. If you're a slightly bigger company, you can also do that in terms of how you support your employees and how you talk about it, particularly if you don't have black people in your business. Because for me, right, the true test, I guess, of people who are really for the movement, and we'll talk about this thing but for the movement in a minute, but really for the movement, are those who don't have black people in their business, actually, because technically it's easy for them to turn a blind eye. Like, I'm not giving you a pass for that, but it's easy. If you don't have black people in your business, you can say, well, it doesn't affect me, and I'll hire the next black person that comes. But if you still say to people, do you know what, I'm listening, I'm hearing, and that's not good enough for me, I need to think about what we can do as a business to affect change, even if that means that I'm not going to turn around and say I'm going to hire 4 black people tomorrow, and all of that sort of stuff. Because technically in that situation you don't have to. So I'm always impressed when I see people doing that, and there are people that are doing that. So I'm impressed with that. I like people who think about having a really bold statement or anchoring themselves firmly on the side of the fence that says, we are for dismantling structural racism or systematic racism, and or we are for police reform or whatever else it is in your sphere of what you can influence, right? We are for looking at how we can eradicate the barriers to progression and opportunity within our business. We are for that. And those businesses that don't wrap it up in fluffy words and phrases, like, you know, stand in solidarity. And I'm not saying that like, the principle of that is fine, but like, we need more than that. Do you know what I mean? I like people that there's no room for ambiguity, because you know what, for me, a spade is, I call a spade a spade. Right, it's got to do what it says on the tin. So do you fundamentally recognise that there is a race issue in this country? Do you fundamentally recognise, whether it's deliberate or not deliberate, that's not what I'm about, but do you fundamentally recognise that your business has practices, policies, the ways that you do things that perpetuate systemic racism or systemic inequalities, and it's time for you to do differently? Do you recognise that all your employees are not on the same page and understanding why this is a big deal? Do you recognise that as white people, you got to pull up for black people now? And some of that pulling up means showing support, doing things differently, reflecting, learning, all of that good stuff. But also, some of that other support means you've got to fall back. It means you might have to not protect your colleagues, your peers who look like you, because there's a lot of people who are feeling very threatened right now.